Hi there, VC. Steve Whitty here. It's Sunday afternoon. It's a bit miserable out there. Much needed rain in the UK, but been out, come back, and decided I'm going to stay in, listen to music, and probably clean a few records at the same time. But before I do that, I'm going to do a video which is sort of like a response video to a thread that Andy Cloudy-Myler set up, and it's just about rules for buying records. And I've seen a few videos floating around. Pete Brad, James Griffiths. Just watched Jeff Kemplin's video, and it's quite an interesting topic because I think we all have our own different ways of going about buying records. I know I'm sort of different to everybody else. I think if we all were the same, it would be quite boring actually. And I think we all have our own preferences. So, without further ado, I don't think it's going to be a long video, but so here it goes. Here's my rules, and I have 10 rules I go by. So first rule I have is before I set out, I will set myself a limit of how much I'm going to spend. And that's primarily, I don't really try and spend more than £25 in one go. Now that does preclude me from buying new vinyl, but I tend to buy second-hand vinyl anyhow. And I've been in shops where I've seen literally blokes literally go goggle-eyed over the amount of records they've gone in. I say blokes, people have gone in, and they just literally pull records off shelves, and suddenly it's about 50, 60 quid they've spent. I've done it the once myself. And it's not much fun living on beans on toast for the rest till payday. So yes, I do try and limit myself to how much I spend. I think it's just important to have that guideline for myself. Second rule is I don't plan any purchases. I don't go out with, I'm going to look, for example, for, say, the Beatles. I ain't going to go out especially to look for Beatles records. I tend to go into the shop, or if I go in the showy shops, with an open mind and see what comes up. In a way, I've tried this. I'm saying, well, I'm just going to buy indie music, or I'm going to buy soul, and something distracts me and takes me away from that. I'm not really that disciplined, so I'll go in with an open mind. Whatever comes up, comes up, Third rule I have is I try to get there early. As they say, the early bird gets the worm. And how I plan my day, and it's Saturday mornings I tend to do most of my record shopping, is I will go into the town centre, have a little walk through the charity shops. There's 5 actually, actually 6, no 5, that I know do records, and I'll have a look, and I will normally pass through. And that's primarily because the charity shops, and it will go to my next rule and to another rule, tend to be overpriced, in my view. Certain places, you do get some odd bargains, that's granted. I think the problem with charity shops is that they tend to think that it's vinyl. Everybody's buying vinyl, and they'll buy anything that's vinyl. And I think not realising that actually most people are looking for, for well-known artists. And if you do get a well-known artist, they tend to charge something daft. So my next rule is that I will not be tempted to pay too much for a record. And as I just mentioned about charity shops, they can be a little bit inexpensive. So I'm going to give you an example here of something I've picked up recently. This is Roy Orbison's Mystery Girl. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I saw this record in a charity shop, and they wanted £5 for it, and the cover was in far worse. It was all bent. They put a gift aid sticker on it, which I think would have been difficult to get off. And the vinyl wasn't much better than this. This is pretty much mint. This, when I can get it back in, I paid £1 for. This is from my local record store. He was putting them out in their pound bins. And he'll put that stuff out that he thinks he's just not going to get much for, and he'll put them in the pound bin. So I got this for £1. Where if I'd have pulled the trigger and brought it in the charity shop, I would have paid £5 for something in worse condition. So I tend to look at records and think, is my local record shop going to will charge more than that in that condition? And if I think no, then I will not buy. I am a lucky guy in the sense that in my record shop, I'll quickly show you. I won't show you these numbers, but Cyclotron Records. Very good with the bargain bins. And you're probably aware that I tend to go there a lot and get a lot of records for £1 and £2. I'm very cool, get some really good records. And the covers are a bit beat. So my first put when I get to the shop is I'll always check the bargain bins first to see what's there. Quite recently, I got a copy of the Birds, Mr. Bird, Dr. Bird's Mr. Hyde, or something like that. Yeah. The cover was just a little bit beat. I showed you a couple of videos ago a copy of Pet Sounds in mono, which, excuse me, my props are falling down. It was only £1. Vinyl cleaned up well. The cover was a bit tatty. That's why it was for £1. So you can get some bargains in there, and that's what I tend to do to build up my collection. If the record's too sharp, well, I've lost £1. It's not the end of the world, and I can always buy an upgrade copy. You will get the odd mark, that's why it's £1. But then you know that if you're expecting something mint, then forget it. Talking of record shops, I tend to stick to the same one. I showed you Cyclotron. It's, I think, the best shop in Birmingham. I think it's by far the cheapest shop in Birmingham. I've picked up some great records, and they've got people travelling all around the country to come and visit that shop. Recently just moved to Boulmere, which is outside the town centre of Sutton Coldfield, where I'm from. But it's on the high street where he was in a market. You could get passing trade. I've been in that shop plenty of times since he's moved, where people have looked record shop and they've come in out of curiosity, and suddenly the light comes on. I've got a load of records in the loft, or he sells CDs, and he was selling CDs as well. So it's a fortuitous move. I'm fortunate, and I think it's. One of the things about shopping in the same shop, you end up building a relationship with the owner. And I've seen me, Mr. Mayo, Joe, do videos inside his shop. He's obviously got that relationship with the owner where he can do videos inside the shop, the characters inside the shop. So I think it's, I think if you've got one shop and you're happy with it, I mean, I tend to stick to it. I'm not really a big fan of going into places and just walking around every record shop just in case to find. I'm not that patient, to be quite honest. Another rule, I think it's rule 8 I'm on now. Be open to recommendations, and give an example. You build up your relationship with your. I build up a relationship with the owner, and he'll get to know. Peanut gets to know sort of thing I like, so he's open to say when we were having a conversation about John Martin, and it's turned around and said, "Well, I have no John Martin in my collection. Don't even have CD," and he was sort of like shocked. Oh, and he pulled out this album, and it was quite cheap, One World, and he played a side of it. And he said, "You got to listen to this." And I was sold, so I brought it, and I brought a comp recently as well. So yes, I'm open to recommendations, but to what people say about music. You talk to people in the shop and say about records. What about that's a good record? You pass it back. You say that's worth listening. It's worth checking out. So yeah, excellent. And goes on to rule 9. I'll ask Pete to play something. You think, well, what's that sound like? And he'll have no problem in playing it. If he says it's good, he'll say, yeah, have a listen to this. And another recent, I haven't got it out, was Mahogany Rush I've picked up. So, you know, I if I want to hear something, he's morning commentating to ask. To play it if you ask him to. I know other customers have done that. A guy comes in with jazz and they're playing it just to, just maybe to see the record's okay, but just to have a sound of it and decide what to buy. A bit like the old days, you used to take records into booths and you listen to through headphones and you try before you buy. And then my final rule is I tend to promote the store I go to, because it's in my interest for the store to do well. If he doesn't do well and he shuts, I've got no record store, and that means having to trek into centre of Birmingham, which I don't really want to do on a Saturday morning. I'm quite busy. I tend to spend a couple of hours in my local store, and then I go off and I do a little bit of volunteering in the afternoon. So my Saturday's pretty full. So recently, last week, I'll quickly show you. Pete had an article published in, it's basically the Sunday paper for Birmingham, the Sunday Mercury, had an article recently on the fact to help promote his new shop, he managed to find a copy of Sex Pistols' God Save the Queen on AMM. There's only a few of these floating around, and he's bought it with a view to sell it on, because he's just using it as publicity. He knows there's collectors out there who'll pay a hell of a lot for that record. I've never seen the record, but it's in the article. So what I've done is, with that article, I've sort of shown it to people. I've shown it to people, my colleagues at work who are into music. I've shown. I went to an event on last Wednesday. Called Off the Record, and showed it to a couple of people there, and sort of astounded that that you can get record that somebody would want to pay that much for a record. So, and I'm going to put the link to the article on the description so you can have a read of it as well. So by promoting my local record store, it gives the chance that more people go in. I'm not cutting my nose, spot my face. The more people that go in, more people that buy records. The longer the shop stays open. So those are my rules, and I think it might be a little bit rambling on, but I hope you're interested in what I've had to say. If you've stumbled across my channel for the first time, you like what you've seen, please subscribe if you want to. Thumbs up, thumbs down, love the interaction, and if you comment, I'll get back to you. So enjoy your Sunday, enjoy the rest of the weekend. I've got a week off now, so happy days. So until next video, VC, take care of yourselves, keep spinning, and more importantly, keep smiling.